What's up, guys? Aaron and Jaysin here. Just coming to talk to you guys about the Bernie Sanders rally that we went to earlier today and just got back from, and Aaron's going to take it.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for coming here tonight. Just wanted to talk to everybody about the Bernie Sanders rally that we went to. We were both very excited about the rally, and we saw an amazing outpour of people at this rally, which was really, really cool. When we first got there at the rally, Jaysin actually got at the rally at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is 2 hours before the rally had even started, and he was already 5 rows back as far as people when it came to getting into the rally. Me and my girlfriend got there about 20 minutes after he did, and if we'd have stood in line at that time, we'd have been already at the end of the block from the front door of the Fox Theater. There was that many people at the event. By the time that people were opening, like we were actually going into the event at about 5 o'clock, 5:10, the line was over half a mile around the block. There was that many people. I asked at the end of it how many people were actually at the event. There was up to 5,500 people at the event. And they can only hold about 5,000 people in the Fox Theater. So they had 500 extra people in the overflow room listening to Bernie Sanders. So this is how real the Bernie Sanders is. So the person who actually introduced Bernie Sanders was Killer Mike. And Killer Mike, he is an activist. He's been around for quite some time. And he not only speaks and, he not only raps and has great music, but he has great speeches himself. He sits down and talks about a lot of very important things in the community. And his intro speech was really, really good. We do have that all recorded. I have the entire thing recorded on my phone. So we're going to try to put that up there for you. But he really wanted to make sure he said what he had to say and then got out of the way for Bernie Sanders, because he had spent over 5 hours with him that day and really enjoyed everything. And where he ended, the only thing I didn't record was the last thing that he said. And he says in a lot of his music, he talks about how he doesn't trust the police, no politician, no one, because of how grimy they are. But after spending so much time with him, he feels in his hearts of hearts that Bernie Sanders is genuine. And I think a lot of people feel that way when they walk away from a rally and when they listen to Bernie Sanders, and that's the reason why he has such a large feedback. My girlfriend, who's not into politics whatsoever, listened to Bernie Sanders and felt compassion, felt that he was sincere. Loved that he talked about the elderly, loved that he talked about the minimum wage, loved that he talked about how we can help each other in this country. And when you hear someone who is genuine about what they do, it is a big deal, and you really do feel it. So to get into some of the things he actually said, which in this particular speech, it felt very custom. He kept it to an Atlanta theme, the MLK theme, and it felt really good. Like he made it just for us. Like, would you not agree?
No, I absolutely agree. I definitely feel like he made it personal, and he spent most of the time in the beginning of his speech talking about Martin Luther King and how he was an inspiration for him. And I think that was a good thing. I think that was him also trying to appeal to the black voters who he's for some reason still struggling with. And that was another thing Killer Mike touched on and said that it's a travesty that Bernie is still having a hard time getting the black people to come out and support him.
And there was a lot of black people at the rally tonight, but they were not the predominant amount of people at the rally. There was actually a lot of women at the rally.
Yes.
And it was funny, we were next to some people who had a lot of signs up, like honk for Bernie and things like that. And I would say 9 out of the 10 cars that honk for Bernie Sanders were women. So apparently whatever he's saying to them is really, really appealing. And I can see why. One of the biggest cheers he had in there was to make sure that women had equal pay for equal work, which again, to him, in his own words, it makes no sense in a civilized society that women are getting paid less than men for the same job. That is absolutely crazy to him, and roars and applause abundant. Some of the other things, these are the things he talked about more in the beginning that were very important to me, and I wrote down up to 2 pages worth of stuff when it comes to Bernie Sanders. He just had so many good points. It was tough to nitpick and narrow it down, but we did for time, so don't worry, we're not going to keep you here all night. So one of the things he said is MLK not only focused on civil rights, but he focused on poor people, and he actually, tried to get a march for the poor. And he said a quote that he found very interesting. He says, "We have a country where we have socialism for the very rich and a rugged individualism for the poor." And something that I think played into this is another thing that he said later on is companies get tax breaks, but we still have children in Georgia and Vermont who are starving, and we have such a high amount of a childhood poverty rate. So while we're giving tax breaks, we're giving handouts, we're giving socialist handouts to these big businesses who don't need the money by any stretch of the imagination, we still have starving children in Georgia and Vermont. So that shows you how we have socialism for the people who can barter to get socialism from the government, but they're telling everybody else at the bottom, oh, you need to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you need to do what you need to do to become famous and become wealthy and become successful. Like, does that make any sense to you?
No, not at all.
Like, I know it's tough to go any further, but it's...
Yeah, I mean, I can't go any further than... But it's not just Atlanta or Georgia and Vermont. I mean, it's all across
It's nationwide.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that just absolutely kills me is the fact that we do have very socialist policies in this country.
We do.
But since we've given them different names, we don't look at them as socialist policies.
Even though Social Security has social in it, I mean,
we still don't connect the two. So again, we have to look at ways to stop focusing on words that divide us and start focusing on the issues. Get past what people say to upset you. Calm yourself down and think about the main points. And don't allow them to get you so riled that you cannot have an intelligent conversation, which is what we need in this country in abundance. And I just absolutely, it's tough to go to one of Bernie Sanders' rallies and not feel a part of the crowd.
No, everybody's so friendly.
Yeah.
There. So friendly and respectful. Yeah, I mean, it really is a, I don't know how to put it. It's just, he always puts in his emails in solidarity Bernie Sanders. And it definitely was a very solidarity. I don't know what the...
Pluralize that.
Yeah, it was that kind of feeling.
And I just absolutely love that. And also the fact that people really left their bigotry and their biases at the door. And the reason I keep looking at it is because I'm looking at some of the things I wrote, and I'm trying to make sure I word this properly. And the fact that he talked about no matter who it is, whether you're in this country or whether you're coming to this country, you deserve the best. And when he said that about people coming into the country, there was a large roar.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that, especially what's been going on in the news lately with people with, we're not going to let Syrian refugees into the country. There's now this rally of all these conservative states who are saying they would never let a Syrian refugee into the country, including Georgia, including my home state of Alabama, which have no Syrian refugees whatsoever anyways. So it's like, it makes no sense to, it's like these people are creating biases and bigotry, and they don't even know these people, let alone have to worry about these people.
Yeah.
So why are you going to that extreme to try to attack them?
What was so great though is that the Georgia governor actually got booed.
Oh yeah.
A lot during Sanders' event.
And that's because of some of the things that he said. And he went straight after, didn't sugarcoat it at all. He says we cannot have people like Georgia's governor saying that we cannot have people coming to this country because of where they came from. Like, come on now. Can we have some common sense here? Like, it's America. If they can make it here legally, they should be able to come here. Plain and simple. Let's go. Oh, and the last thing I want to talk about in this particular, in the beginning of his stuff, was youth unemployment. And this is a big number, and I love the way that he broke down this statistic. He said he asked some of his people to, find the facts, crunch the numbers, and he said youth unemployment from people 17 to 20 years old with a high school diploma. And that to me is the most important part, because he's not adding in there the people who never wanted to try, who never cared, or who just maybe didn't have the best upbringing, so school wasn't important to them. No, these are the people who worked hard, got their degree, left, and still couldn't find work. Got their diploma, left, and still can't find work. For white workers 17 to 20 with a high school degree, and again, this isn't GED, this is a high school degree from what he said. White people have a 33% unemployment rate. Hispanic people have a 36% unemployment rate. And African Americans have a 51% unemployment rate. And this is a youth unemployment rate. And he said, there's no way that you can not see the correlation between such large numbers of youth unemployment and the large number of people incarcerated in this country. We've all been kids before. If you ain't got nothing to do, you're going to find something to do, whether it's good or it's bad. So when you have countless numbers of youth with free time and no real prospects, bad stuff's gonna happen. That's the reason why we need to help each other out. Yep. Another point that was really good, and this is one that made us die laughing when we really looked at the stats on this. And I thought to myself, Bernie Sanders said we need to have 3 months of paid vacation leave for anyone who has a child, male and female, paid maternity leave. And I was like, I thought to myself, okay, most people are going to call this a crazy socialist idea.
Yeah.
Let me think of something so extreme that there's no way it could be true. And I was like, there's no way that Russia, of all countries, would have paid maternity leave.
20 weeks.
20 weeks after we looked up the facts of paid maternity leave, they're beating Bernie Sanders and the amount of paid maternity leave that he's going to give away. And yet you want to call him like a horrible socialist. Like, this guy's trying to take all of our money, all of our time. And then we looked at the list of how many countries didn't have paid maternity leave.
There's only 8 that don't have it. Most of them are like third
world countries that couldn't afford it, whether they don't even have proper like infrastructure to have good medical care anyways. And those are places like Papua New Guinea. We're on the same list as Papua New Guinea for having no paid medical maternity leave for women or men who have children. Think about that, people, please. Like,
the most wealthiest country
in the world. And Papua New Guinea, which I can't say they're the poorest, but I don't think they're too far from that bottom.
Yeah.
Nothing against you, Papa. No, nothing against Papua New Guinea. I'm just saying, people still living in huts and eating from the ocean. And we're on the same level as them when it comes to paid maternity leave. Please think about that, people. Just please think about it. And he said, because he was around in Congress and Senate when all this stuff was happening, and he said the billionaires on Wall Street paid up to $5 billion to get deregulated funding so that they could do whatever they wanted to. Then when the housing bubble popped and the Wall Street bubble popped, they paid another couple $1 billion so that they could get bailed out by the government. So they paid to get free range, got free reign of whatever they wanted, broke it, and then paid for someone else to fix it. All right, I'm just going to let y'all mull over that one for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Just think about that for a second.
Just a second. All right. Okay.
All right.
Now, we already said he blasted Georgia's governor. He did that he didn't even bat an eye. And again, that's why I love Bernie Sanders. I think a lot of other people love Bernie Sanders. I don't mind saying I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. It's because he doesn't care who you are. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and he ain't pulling no punches.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple. He's not bought out by anybody. He has no donors that are millionaires, billionaires, and corporations. No super PACs. And of his 800,000 people who have donated to him, the average is a $30 donation. That's what I want to see in a political campaign right there. And I do want to see Citizens United, which he said he will overturn when he's elected.
He actually had a really good line about that, in that it was, how did it go? It was something about publicly funded. If you can't run a campaign publicly funded, then you need to get a new job or something like that. Yeah, something of the sort. It's like, if you can't get enough people to rally behind you to where you don't have to petition for big companies to just pay for you to do whatever they say, you probably shouldn't be in politics. Yeah. And I agree. And he said the same thing about states like Georgia, like Alabama, who are trying to deny voting rights. He said, I never, whether I won or lost an election, and he liked to put in there, I won most of those. Whether he won or lost, he never tries to stop you from going out to vote. And if you try to stop people from voting, you should be ashamed of yourself, and that's not part of the democratic process. Wholeheartedly agree. And I would even go a step further. You need to be in prison. Absolutely. Because it is a law, it is a right given to us by this country, by our Constitution, and anyone who tries to trample on that, which all these conservatives try to say, do not tread on me. Well, when you take away someone's voting rights, that's treading on you. So you should be just as mad about this as you are about anything else. Because if they can take their rights, they can take your rights. Absolutely. Any injustice done to one person is an injustice done to all of us. And that is a fact of life.